Hello, viewers. Tonight, or rather today, it is 6 a.m., or at least 6:28. I would like to talk about, something that I had talked about somewhat in my last video. However, I did make a mistake in reference to it. It had to do with Gandhi and the lower castes of India. I had basically remembered something else. I was thinking about some incident of lower caste people in temples and their rights in temples. But in regard to what Gandhi had did, and as far as I know, the later part of his life, he did something very significant in regard to the lower caste peoples of India. Basically, he went on a hunger strike. So let us read about it so that you can know what I was talking about in the last video I had made. So this is about Gandhi and the lower castes. They, professors at This is something that someone named Nitin Mehta says. He says, they, professors of the University of Ghana, further accuse Gandhi of perpetuating the caste system. Yet no one has done more to stand up for the rights of India's lower castes. Basically, if you do not know, Gandhi does have a lot of admirers in Africa. However, many of those people have questioned a good deal of his reputation due to what many perceive as racism. Now, as far as going into detail about that, I really do not know so much myself. I just know that apparently there was talk about some type of statue being put up of him in Ghana, but apparently some particular Africans thought that it was not very pertinent due to the fact that Gandhi apparently had some very unflattering views, of black Africans. But anyhow, we have this particular statement here in The Guardian. I take particular umbrage at this statement. Please recall the hunger strike Gandhi undertook in 1932 to prevent the untouchable Dalit class from receiving a reservation of seats in Parliament. In order not to weaken his power base in the independence struggle, the British administration was attempting to make this reform due to the poor treatment of the Dalits at the hands of the caste system. Gandhi and the Indian National Congress Basically, Gandhi was a supporter of the caste system in India. The British could not be seen to be responsible for Gandhi's death, so succumbed to his demands. So basically, for the purpose of so-called unification, Gandhi decided that the British should not have their way, even if the British were apparently trying to make a positive change in India. The idea was that the caste system should have its integrity intact, and yet you hear some particular Indian individuals, especially Hindus, who say, well, in sooth, the British worsened the caste system in India. And some people will claim that they made it more racial, which is not true at all when you look at the history of the Dasu and Aryan populations in India and their whole history, and how the Dasu, or the Dravidian population, is considered to be, from what I've read, there is an old belief that they are descendants of Asuras, basically, and that they lived in the Indus River Valley a long time ago. And basically, racism and caste discrimination in India is something that goes back a long time, a sort of color-based system. not just color-based. Varna means colors. So this is not something I'm simply making up. If you look for the Hindi word for basically the caste system, you will find the word Varna. Varna means colors. We have reviewed this on this channel before. But here, as I've said many times, we do word study. And so in some cases, for the purposes of elucidation and the dissemination of information, oh goodness, it seems my dictionary is kind of messed up. I will fix that. I'm very sorry. My viewers. That is going to be fixed very soon. Hopefully. I think this fixes it, but I really do not know. Alright, let me try it. Oh my. It did not fix it. Okay, I still found something. Basically, when it says HTML data parsing, I know that something's wrong. But anyhow, Varna, Sanskrit, that literally means color, sort, class. So basically, color and class and sort are synonymous. And basically, if you know the history of India, the Aryans came from the north and invaded the Dasyus, the Dravidians, from the south. Eventually, there would become a story that the Dasyus, I think that is how you pronounce it, I could be wrong, that the darker peoples were descended from the Asuras. And in some cases, they are even sort of associated with a goddess like Kali and other darker skinned gods and goddesses. But nonetheless, basically, color and caste are synonymous. They go hand in hand. But anyhow, we have here, if anyone deserves an accolade, it is BR Ambedkar, who apparently was a Buddhist. He apparently became a Buddhist to basically leave the caste system and try to make things easier for other, Dalits or untouchables, basically. So some Hindus will become Christian if they're of a lower caste or Buddhist, and they believe maybe they can get away from that pretty horrible and restrictive culture, and maybe they can get out of the caste system altogether. But it is quite different than that, because there are even some Christians who still sort of take caste consideration into mind when they even get married and the like. But nonetheless, a lot of people really do want to get away from it, even today. But as far as I know, Ambedkar had chose Buddhism to sort of do something different, I suppose. He is very respected. In some cases, even worshipped to an extent by certain people, which is quite a shame, because no one should be worshipped, no man should be worshipped. But nonetheless, it's just weird how some people go around the statues, I will put it that way. In regard to Gandhi and Ambedkar, they had a big rivalry. Ambedkar doubtlessly was doing more for the lower caste people than Gandhi. But the problem is that according to Gandhi and others, they wanted to sort of maintain the caste system status quo in India, because for them, they did not want the British to look more civilized than them and sort of have an advantage over them as an excuse to basically, I suppose, stay in power. Which, if you think about it, if you are of a lower caste, you really do not care who is gaining any sort of political advantage. You want to do what you can for the poor people who are not going to receive any advantages from the rise of people of higher castes, because the lower caste is treated absolutely terribly. And so as far as Ambedkar, he was simply working for the poor people who are not really protected. And even today in Indian society, not much has changed. They have these people performing, in some cases, some pretty terrible tasks. In certain places in India, they are cleaning sewers. They are doing work that they are considered to only be worthy of. In other words, it is considered that certain jobs are not really worthy of a person of a higher caste. Those beliefs are still held. So what is done in some particular places in India, a person of a lower caste will do very disgusting jobs, or jobs that most people really do not have very much of an interest in doing, or jobs that are considered lowly. And so this is what happens. And this still happens today. It, in a sense, is a way of bullying certain people in society and mistreating them. I'm going to take a breath, frankly. Alright, that sort of helped. But anyhow, this is a reality in India, even today. These are all very interesting subjects to read about, but this is what I was talking about in my last video. So I just wanted to sort of make a correction, engage in some elucidation, in some elaboration upon the subject, and in a sense point you in the direction of some very interesting information. This one article from the Guardian is very interesting. If you want to find that link, all you have to do is come to my comment section on this particular video, and you will find it. Alright? If you want to read that article, it's right here. It's in the pinned comment. Anyhow, may you be blessed and farewell.